Welcome back, everybody. I am Kim.
Konnichiwa, Shane desu.
So Shane, tell me more about Japan.
So, Japan is wonderful.
Really, what do they eat there?
Hamburgers.
Oh.
Pizza.
Oh,
Pizza.
pizza.
They love hamburgers and pizza there.
Right.
Yes.
What do they like to do for fun in Japan?
For fun, they like to sing. They like singing a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty.
Well, you sound about as credible as George Salamanzar, who we've been talking about, who told a couple of whoppering lies about Taiwan back in the day.
So I hope you liked my Japanese song that I sang for you, and I think it's pretty believable.
It is. Now let's continue with our reading.
To provide a complete account of his native land, Salmanazar wrote a book, An Historical and Geographical Description of Formosa. The book included a description of the Formosan language, which was completely made up by Salmanazar. He also described the Formosans as a clever but savage people. They could paint with great art and skill, but they also had many bloody traditions, such as sacrificing 20,000 boys to their god each year. The book sold like hotcakes.
Okay, this is part 2 of the first Formosan in Europe, and let's see what he's going to say next.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
To provide a complete account of his native land, Salmanazar wrote a book, a historical and geographical description of Formosa.
Well, I guess if people are starting to doubt you, right?
You gotta do something.
You need to put this in writing. If you write a book, that makes it pretty official.
I think the book was kind of the authority about historical facts back then. If you wrote it in a book, it was true.
And I'm really curious, like maybe people would come to him and say, well, I've never really heard of this. Oh, really? There's a book about it? Maybe he will just pretend like that this is the official book, but he wouldn't tell them, actually, I wrote this book.
And made most of it up, but you know.
Yeah, it's just fiction.
Yes, it is.
He just came up with a bunch of facts.
But he treated it as historical fact. Now, what is historical?
Yeah, so historical just means that it is from history. So if something is from history, this means that it actually happened in the past, right? So, for example, the book contains many historical facts. So these are facts that come from history.
Yes, things that actually happened in the past.
Right.
Now, the book included a description of the Formosan language, which was completely made up by Salmanazar. He also described the Formosans as a clever but savage people.
Oh, clever but savage people. I still cannot believe that he made up his own language. That is so awesome. And
I'll give him that.
The great thing is, he's saying that he is Formosan, right?
Yes.
So he's saying, yes, we're very clever, but we're also savage.
It's kind of rude.
We're a savage people.
So savage, not very technologically advanced, not very developed.
Basically pretty wild.
Yes.
Right? Okay. They could paint with great art and skill, but they also had many bloody traditions, such as sacrificing 20,000 boys to their god each year. The book sold like hotcakes. So,
20,000. 20, I might be like, okay, but 20,000?
So they sacrificed these baby boys.
20,000 of them.
20,000 of them each year. That is a pretty bloody tradition.
That is very bloody.
But people were really buying these books. So when they say a book was selling like hotcakes, if something sells like hotcakes, it means you sell a lot of them.
Yes, they're selling very quickly, and a lot of them too. Now, he had talked about these bloody traditions. Bloody can mean either covered in blood, so if you get a cut on your leg, Your leg is all covered in blood. It's bloody. It can also mean terrible. Something is really bad. It is bloody. In this case, we're talking about sacrificing baby boys, 20,000 boys. So this is quite bloody, you would think. Another example.
I don't know how they did it. Yeah, I'm really curious how he described.
You have to read the book to find out.
Ooh, I really want to.
So another example, the two countries fought a bloody war that lasted 3 years. War is pretty bloody, and so is sacrificing 20,000 children every year.
So he just sat down and just made up I guess what was in his mind of a place that would be very different from the European culture.
Yes.
Where he found himself. So you have to just make it seem like these people must be very wild.
Yes,
it's
make it
island.
as different as possible.
Yeah, and the more different it is, the more believable, I guess it would be.
And the more people are interested. People love these kind of crazy, a little bit strange, out there stories.
Yeah, so you really wonder, was he also a good businessman?
If he sold that many books, then sure, yeah.
Yeah, you're wondering, what was his motivation? Did he write this book because he just really wanted to convince people that he was from Taiwan? Or did maybe he want to make a lot of money and become very famous?
I think a little of A, a little of B.
This guy's such an interesting character.
Well, after our break, let's find out even more about him and what happened with his stories.
I love this guy.
I love him too.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。我们继续来看看 Zsolt and Stephen 所编的谎言有没有被揭穿，还是他撒的谎又更上一层楼了呢？好，课文写到说 ，Stephen 他写了一本书来替他的祖国提供完整描述。那这个书名叫做《福尔摩沙的历史与地理描述》，里面呢还要描述当地语言，然后这全都是他虚构的。Stephen 把福尔摩沙人描绘成一个聪明但是野蛮的民族，说他们还有高超的绘画能力，但也有很多那种血腥的传统，像是每年要向神来献祭2万名的男童，有这么多的男童可以献吗？好，这本书呢，它非常畅销。我们来看看2个单字 ，historical， 它是个形容词，形容历史的、历史上的，或是基于历史史实的。好，还有 bloody， 它可以形容流血的，也可以形容是血腥的、残忍的、暴力的。那老师们聊到 Stephen 竟然自己创造出那种虚构语言，还真的很令人赞叹哎。那人们可能也因为爱听一些离奇怪异的故事，才会相信他编的故事。老师们这时候用的 out there， 在中间加上连字号变成这个形容词，在口语中呢可以描述是非常奇怪的、不寻常的。还有用到 awesome， awesome 可以形容是令人赞叹的、非常棒的。好，那我们接着回到课文中。
Over time, stories of Formosa from other sources proved his claims to be false. By 1711, he and his stories were considered a joke. Even so, some people believe Salmanazar's book was the inspiration for Gulliver's Travels. Salmanazar ended up living a long life, though in his later years he came to regret the tricks that he had played in his youth. When he was in his 80s, his final act of honesty was to admit in a second book that he was a fake. One fact he never revealed, however, was his real name, which is still not known to this day.
So during the break, you said to me, he's a grade A troll.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone has run into these kind of trolls, usually on the internet. These are people that like to make up stories just to make other people upset or angry or confuse them.
Yeah, we use this also as a verb to troll somebody on the internet. Or you can describe the person who makes up these kind of stories to upset people or make people start talking. You can describe them as a troll.
This guy is a troll.
So he's like a troll from long ago.
I like him because he's funny, but I also kind of want him to get found out.
Yeah, right? You're hoping that someone's going to find out, and because he shouldn't be able to get away with this.
Exactly. So let's find out what happens to him.
Okay.
It says, over time, stories of Formosa from other sources proved his claims to be false. Aha! By 1711, he and his stories were considered a joke. Even so, some people believe Salamanzar's book was the inspiration for Gulliver's Travels, another very famous story from about the same period.
Exactly, and that's really kind of talking about savages on an island, right? So we knew that eventually, as soon as, other people are going to start talking, and
Yes.
reputable people are going to write reputable books.
Yes.
And the information eventually is going to prove him false.
Yep.
It's just a matter of time.
You make some crazy claims, people are going to come out and say, that's not right.
Exactly. It just
Yes.
takes time. Salmanazar ended up living a long life, though in his later years, he came to regret the tricks that he had played in his youth. So eventually, he did start to regret it.
Okay, well, that's good at least.
When he was in his 80s, his final act of honesty was to admit in a second book that he was a fake.
Oh, so he had to make money from admitting that he was a fake.
So he wrote another
Okay.
book. I wonder if that book sold like hotcakes.
Was there just one page that said, I made it up?
It's all a lie.
It's all
I
a lie.
am actually English.
Well, at least he admitted it in the end. One fact he never revealed, however, was his real name, which is still not known to this day.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. We still don't know what his name actually was.
You'd think at that time, though, he had family members, right?
Maybe.
There's people that must have known him.
Maybe not.
So, maybe not.
There was no Facebook to see who he's friends with,
That's true. Yeah, we get used to living in this modern age where it's really easy to get information about people.
Yes.
But back then, you could really just kind of hide away and do your own thing, and it was easy to live a private and dishonest life.
Oh.
So we have a word here, honesty. Honesty is a noun. So honesty just means to basically not lie.
To tell the truth.
To tell the truth. So honesty is this quality of not lying or telling the truth. So for example, Chris was unhappy that Betty wanted to break up with him, but he appreciated her honesty. So
That's tough.
that's really sad. Well, okay, I understand you don't want to be with me anymore, but thank you for being honest with me.
You're welcome.
Well, what should she do? Just lie to him?
She's
and
going to say that
pretend
she's packing up her things and moving to Formosa. So they can't be together anymore.
Okay.
That is not honest. Don't say
Yeah.
that. So her excuse is fake. And fake is usually an adjective that means something is not real. But here, Salamanzar calls himself a fake, the
Fake.
noun.
Right.
That just means he is not being honest. He's
Right.
not telling the truth.
Somebody's a fake, that just means they're not the person they claim to be.
And he definitely was not. And here's another example for you. The man was wearing a police officer's uniform, but he was a fake. He's not actually a police officer.
Okay. Another vocabulary word here, a verb, reveal. The example sentence, Peggy revealed to her friends that she is going to have a baby.
Oh.
So if you reveal something, you are giving people some information that the feeling is that it was kind of not known, or it was a secret to begin with, or not known by a lot of people. So the idea here is kind of like something is covered, and then you uncover it.
You
to
reveal it.
reveal it.
That's right. So here's the best part is our what do you think question. This is going to be a hard one to answer. What was Salmanazar's wildest claim? What do you think was his wildest claim about Taiwan?
Well, I think the craziest thing that he claimed was just that he was Asian. To me, I feel like I'm coming to you and saying, yes, I am from Formosa. Maybe you don't know where Formosa is, but you have to be pretty bold to claim that when you have pale skin and blue eyes.
Yeah, I think he was hoping no one knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, but when he started to describe it, you would imagine that they must think this is an island somewhere in the Pacific Ocean or somewhere where it's not European-looking people.
Yes.
I think at least people back then knew that Europeans looked one way, and people from other countries, maybe Africa or Asia, they looked different.
Yes, I think by that time people knew that.
They must have at least known that much.
Right.
So to me, I feel it's just crazy that he could claim this looking the way that he looked.
I can't believe that Salmanazar claimed that there were camels in Taiwan. Camels are desert animals. They live in the desert where there's lots of sand, it's very hot, it's very dry. Not exactly the kind of place they would live in Taiwan.
But we know that now, right?
We know that now.
Because we're educated, but back then, just maybe the average person had no idea really about geography.
True.
And let alone know about what kind of animals lived in which type of climate.
Yes, so we have to give them a little benefit of the doubt because they didn't know.
They just know it's an exotic animal.
Yes.
And we don't have those in Europe, so okay, sure, why not camels in Taiwan?
Whatever you say, George. We believe you.
I wish there were camels in Taiwan.
I would come to work on a camel, yeah.
And I would definitely be watching you from the comfort of the MRT.
That's right. Well, thank you for joining us on this pretty crazy ride.
This is an incredible journey, I'm telling you.
I've had fun, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
刚刚说 Salmanazar 把福尔摩沙人描绘成聪明但野蛮的民族，但他又说自己是福尔摩沙人，不晓得他在瞎掰的同时，是不是也要演很大，故意用那种很原始、很野蛮的方式吃东西讲话？好，课文补充单字 savage， 它在课文里是形容词来形容野蛮的、未开化的，可是它也可以当名词来指野蛮人。那 Shane 老师他刚用到 primitive 这个字 ，primitive。Primitive， 它是形容原始的、未开化的。好，另外老师们刚刚聊到说 ，Salmanazar 可能是为了要得到关注而说谎成性的人，还说他是现实当中的酸民。那我们来补充一下 ，compulsive 这个字 ，compulsive 可以表达强迫性的。那么 a compulsive liar 就可以表达说谎成性的人。这种人感觉好像有撒谎强迫症，没有办法抑制自己想要撒谎的冲动。再来看 troll。Troll， 好 ，troll 这个字它原本是指北欧神话当中那种长相丑陋的巨怪，那现在常常用来指网络酸民。这个字呢，当名词可以用来表达故意留下激怒他人言论的人，或是可能为了要得到关注、要捣乱而发表网络怪论的人。那么 troll 当动词则是指从事酸民行为，刻意激怒别人。好，课文接着写到。经过一段时间啊 ，Salmanazar 他宣称的事情被证明是假的。那么到了1711年，他跟他的故事都被视为是笑话。话说这个人还蛮长寿的，那他在晚年的时候就开始后悔自己年轻时开的玩笑，于是呢就有诚实的在另外一本书里面承认他是个冒牌货，只是他从来都没有透露过自己的真实姓名。我们来看3个单字 ，honesty， 它表示诚实、坦诚。那么 fake 在这边当名词表示骗子、冒牌货或是假货。那么 reveal 可以表达透露、揭露。好，那这个段落呢有4个文法重点，那我们就进入文法时间。大家好，我是文法界的女神 Fanny。我们来看今天文法重点。第一个是 consider 的用法，动词 consider 表示认为，把什么视为，就像大家把我视为文法界的女神。好，我们来看常用的句型。主动的句型就是主词 consider 某人或某事物 to be 名词或形容词。那被动的句型呢，就是某人或某事物 be considered to be 加上名词或形容词，那个 to be 是可以省略的哦。像你可以说 They consider him him to be a liar， 或是 they consider him a liar， 他们认为他是个骗子。再看个例句 ，The neighborhood is considered to be dangerous， 或是 The neighborhood is considered dangerous， 那个社区那个邻近地区被认为是很危险的哦。第二个重点 end up， 它是表达说最后怎么样，结果怎么样。那么后面呢，你可以接现在分词、过去分词、形容词或是介系词片语。例如 They ended up spending the entire day at home because of the heavy rain， 因为下大雨的关系，结果他们整天都待在家里面没出门。第三个重点是 come to 加动词，是表达说经过一段时间或是经过漫长的过程，开始怎么样，渐渐怎么样。像你可以说 Her parents didn't like the dog at first, but they eventually came to consider it part of the family. 一开始他爸妈不喜欢那只狗，但最后他们逐渐把它视为家庭一份子。还有家里的长辈都嘛这样子，一开始说，哎呦，我对毛过敏然后结果跟猫猫狗狗一起睡觉。好，第四个重点是 regret， 它当动词就是后悔、懊悔，后面可以接名词或动名词，表达说你后悔做了什么事，像是 He regretted not studying hard enough， 他后悔自己不够用功。好，今天就是以上的文法重点，同学们记得多复习哦。我们下次见喽，拜拜。
To provide a complete account of his native land, Salmanazar wrote a book, An Historical and Geographical Description of Formosa. The book included a description of the Formosan language, which was completely made up by Salmanazar. He also described the Formosans as a clever but savage people. They could paint with great art and skill, but they also had many bloody traditions, such as sacrificing 20,000 boys to their god each year. The book sold like hotcakes. Over time, stories of Formosa from other sources proved his claims to be false. By 1711, he and his stories were considered a joke. Even so, some people believe Salmanazar's book was the inspiration for Gulliver's Travels. Salmanazar ended up living a long life, though in his later years he came to regret the tricks that he had played in his youth. When he was in his 80s, his final act of honesty was to admit in a second book that he was a fake. One fact he never revealed, however, was his real name, which is still not known to this day.
Hi, I'm Zsolt.
I'm Stephen.
And we're here to play the game called Word Drop, where we each have 3 words that we have to casually bring into conversation with each other, and we've never seen the words before. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Do you go first?
I do.
Okay.
I have a lot of hobbies,
That's great.
as you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that I like to do are sports, like the outdoors, surfing, because this reveals my natural side.
Oh,
My nature-loving side.
that is really great because I feel like doing a lot of different sports, like you just mentioned, can be very fun and entertaining, but sometimes if you get an injury or a boo-boo on your arm, it could get quite bloody.
Ouch, yeah.
Yes.
I've had a lot of those incidents. You know, that reminds me, the sports today are much safer with all the protective gear that we have, helmets and clothing and stuff.
Definitely.
And this compares nothing to what they used to do in the past and the historical documentaries that I've seen.
Wow, you must watch a lot of historical documentaries to bring that up casually in conversation. You know what it is like about you, Zsolt? I think it's because no matter what we talk about, you are always so full of honesty. And I think that is great.
Thank you, that touches me. I really appreciate you as well, Stephen, because of all the conversations that we have, you're as likewise very honest, and I can never see an ounce of fakeness. There's no fake in you.
There definitely is not fakeness. I think you are absolutely correct in that. I mean, I feel like if you're too fake, sometimes you could just end up dying somewhere. And that is not where I want to end up in life. So, thank you.
See you next time.